Hello class! As for other modules so far, it was nice also in this module to see that you explored different ways on how to support students with hearing impairment. It looks like you have addressed the majority of objectives for this module, and it was nice to see that objectives that emphasize especially accommodations and modifications, instructional strategies, and also ways to support students in inclusive classrooms are addressed. Lindsay and Elaine addressed mostly types, causes, treatment, and the video that Elaine posted addressed the issues, what exactly is hearing loss. Rachel, Megan, and Brittany focused on accommodations. Ashley, Abigail, and Nate, they provided different strategies that will support these students. And Nate's video talked about sign language, which is one of the ways that we actually will support these students. Sophie and Audrey, they emphasized technology, and Jennifer's resource also addressed types in addition to technology. Christine's resource talked about identification issues and screening, which is one of the objectives. Adria talked about deaf culture, and Taylor about inclusion. So great job, everyone. I noticed that some of your resources talked about types of hearing impairment, and I think each and every one of you is aware now that terms that we use to describe this population are terms deaf and hard of hearing. The severity or level of a student's hearing loss determines whether the student will be classified as deaf or as hard of hearing. To be considered deaf, a person must have a hearing loss of 70 to 90 decibels or greater and be unable to use hearing even with amplification as the primary means for developing language. Whereas a person is considered to be hard of hearing if he has a hearing loss in the 20 to 70 decibel range, benefits from amplification, and communicates primarily through speaking. What do we see as degrees of hearing loss? We have to understand that frequency is measured in hertz, whereas loudness is measured in decibels. So the degrees of hearing loss is measured with decibels. 0 to 10 people with normal hearing usually have 0 to 15 decibel range, whereas a slight hearing loss will be noticed when we have a degree of 16 to 25 decibels. Mild degree of hearing loss is 26 to 40 decibels, moderate 41 to 55, moderate severe 56 to 70 decibels, severe 71 to 90, and profound 91 plus decibels. Knowing degrees of hearing loss, it is important for us as educators. Why? Because by knowing where they are and how severe it is their hearing loss, we will understand what might be some of the challenges, and then it'll help us make the accommodations and use the technology and also different types of instructional strategies that you actually identified in your supports and resources that you provided in this module. For example, if your student has minimal or borderline hearing loss, then this student might be unaware of subtle conversational cues, causing him or her to be viewed as inappropriate or awkward. This student might miss portions of fast-paced peer interactions, which could begin to have an impact on socialization and self-concept. Also, students who have this type of hearing loss, they might exhibit immature behaviors, and they also may be more fatigued than other classmates because of greater listening efforts. So how can we help these students? Usually, the support that they might receive might be from hearing aid, personal FM system, favorable seating, or sound field amplifications if classroom is noisy. They also may need attention to vocabulary or speech. Teacher in service, it is required. If you have students who have mild degree of hearing loss, 26 to 40 decibel loss, then there would be barriers beginning to build with negative impact on self-esteem as a student is accused of hearing only when he or she wants to, or it will be accused of daydreaming or not paying attention. The student might begin to lose the ability for selective hearing and has increasing difficulty suppressing background noise, which makes the learning environment stressful. Same as for students with minimal or borderline hearing loss, they will be more fatigued than their classmates because of their required listening efforts. What can you do to support these students? They will benefit from a hearing aid, personal FM system, or sound field system. For them, a favorable seating and lighting it is required. They need auditory skill building and attention to vocabulary and language development, as well as articulation and speech reading. Same as for the first group, for them it is also teacher in service required. For students with moderate hearing loss, they will have communication issues because communication is often significantly affected and socialization with hearing peers becomes increasingly difficult. With full-time use of hearing aids or FM systems, students may be viewed as less competent learners, and that increases the impact on self-esteem. The support that they might need would be amplification, which is essential, hearing aids and FM system. Special education support, it is needed, especially for students in early grades. Attention to oral language development, reading, written language, as well as auditory skill development and speech, it is required. For students with moderate to severe hearing loss, they have already full-time use of hearing aids or FM systems. But because of that, they might be judged by their peers and adults as less competent learners. They will start displaying poor self-concepts and diminished social maturity, and that might contribute to feelings of rejection. Something that you can do to support them is full-time use of amplification. They also will need a resource teacher or special class placement, depending on the magnitude of language delay. They will likely require assistance with language skills and academic subjects. For students with severe hearing loss, 71 to 90 decibel loss, for these students, they might prefer other children with hearing impairments as friends. This may further isolate the individual from his or her classmates. However, these peer relationships may foster an improved self-concept and a sense of cultural identity. Some possible educational needs that you might notice are emphasis placed on auditory language skills, speech reading, concept development, and speech. As loss approaches to 80-90 degree range, then the student may benefit from a total communication approach. Individual hearing aid or personal FM system is essential. Regular class placement is preferred, but teacher in service is vital. The final group is students who display profound hearing loss. For these students, depending on auditory oral competence, peer use of sign language, parental attitude, and other factors, they may or may not increasingly prefer association with a deaf culture. What they might need is a special program with an emphasis on language skills and academic subjects, along with comprehensive support services. Early use of amplification is more likely to be very beneficial. These are the students that may be perfect candidates for cochlear implant. Part-time placement in general education classes may benefit these students. In conclusion, I want to address the issue of deaf culture. I like that we have a resource today, and I really think that it provided great information on this issue about how and who are these individuals. Many individuals who are deaf or hard of hearing tend to identify with the deaf community. The deaf community believes that the term impaired has negative connotations and prefers deaf child. Its members particularly resist the term hearing impaired because it implies a condition in need of correction or repair. Members of the deaf community do not view themselves as needing to be fixed or cured, but as members of a different culture with its own language, traditions, values, and literature. Therefore, it is very important to understand where they are coming from, because one fact that is important for us as educators to know is that approximately 90% of all children with hearing impairments have hearing parents. So it is important where they are coming from and how we can develop that support and also the collaboration between families and school. With that, I want to say thank you again for the hard work, and I look forward to your posts on how to support students with visual impairment. Thank you.